Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Washington, D.C. to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
Really good, Adam. Pleasure to welcome you and the whole audience back to the channel where we just predict everything right, don't we? Looked at the BBC Sport homepage there, and the Odegaard deal to Arsenal is edging closer and closer. So, just to reiterate to you and everyone, this is the channel where we accidentally break news. We didn't, we unknowingly brought football news to the world. So I'm buzzing about that. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, I feel great. I think it's safe to say that, is it Ivan Gazidis that's the chairman of Arsenal, or is he now gone at Milan, or is that Kroenke? But anyways.
Gazidis rings a bell.
Yeah, I think Gazidis watched our transfer predictions last week and said, man, that Odegaard sounds really good. So yeah, it looks like they've snatched him up from Madrid. But yeah, I'm happy to be back with a new edition of European Power Rankings. It's been about 2 weeks since our last episode, and we got a brand new look, don't we, Charlie?
As in, format wise, we certainly do. We have we've been doing a little bit of thinking, and we thought maybe, even though, me and Adam, slightly different views sometimes, we'd like to do our own research and come up with our own lists. But for the benefit of the viewer, which is obviously what is all important at the end of the day, we should probably stick our heads together and just give you a 10. So the 10 best teams in Europe right now, as per the combined minds of Rank and Report Football. So we're trying something a little bit different out this week. We're not going to have a 10 from me and a 10 from Adam. We're going to have a joint 10. We're just going to go through them one by one, have a little chat about them. Hopefully it makes it flow a little bit better. And if you want to let us know how you feel about that in the comments, please do. If it's worse than the old version, please tell us. But I have a sneaky feeling it might make things run a little bit smoother for us and you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about the new format, and let us know your rankings or any thoughts you have on anything we say. Let us know whatever you want, and we'll definitely be replying to those comments as well. So before we hop into those new rankings, I just want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button down below if you have not already, and hit the notification bell to be notified when we release a new video. And if you would like the audio version of this show, you can search the Rank and Report Football Show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll be the first thing that comes up. With that being said, Charlie, should we hop into our brand new European Power Rankings?
God, we're gonna wade into the abyss and just see what happens, aren't we? So yeah. I'm gonna start us off at number 10, the joint number 10 this week, and that is Leicester City. So, again, just to take everyone through the basics, Leicester City, they currently sit third in the Premier League. Their two most recent results were a 2-0 win at home to Southampton and a 2-0 win at home to Chelsea, which is a fantastic win. And I think one of the craziest things to note about that win against Chelsea is that wasn't even a surprise, really. People expected Leicester to beat Chelsea, which is really a mark of how far they've come at the moment. And in the midst of those, they've also had 2 cup wins since the last time we spoke to you. So yeah, Leicester are currently sitting third. Vardy's still in good form. He's got 13 goals for the season. Harvey Barnes is having a great season with 10. And since the last time they were featured, James Maddison has really turned up as well. He's got 9 goals, 4 assists this season. And he gave a really good interview to Sky Sports as well within the last week. And he showed quite a lot of personality. He looked like a very switched on guy. So a lot of people are very high on James Maddison at the moment. So yeah, we've gone for, all things considered, we've gone for Leicester as deserving of 10th place in Europe this week.
Yeah, I think they absolutely deserve to be in that top 10. I mean, I think Brendan Rodgers has done an incredible job because, you look at Leicester, this isn't a huge club with a huge budget. And one thing that really kind of was striking to me is that Yuri Tielemans is still their record signing, and that was about 2 seasons ago. I just feel like this club, this may be a credit to Brendan Rodgers, to the board, but they're so good at just effortlessly replacing players. You think about the players that have gone out the door in the past few seasons, like Harry Maguire, Ben Chilwell, Riyad Mahrez, N'Golo Kante even. And you think about the guys that have come in for much less money than they sold those players for. You think about Wesley Fofana coming in, Kaglar Soyuncu, James Justin. These guys just come in and they fit right in like they've been at the club since they were kids. It's so effortless.
Yeah, I think the one thing to highlight above all else is that their recruitment has been really, really solid. Really solid. And I think no position highlights that better than at fullback, because last season and the season before they had Ben Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira playing left and right back, who were regarded as two of the best fullbacks in the league, really. Obviously, since then, Chilwell's gone off to Chelsea. Ricardo Pereira had a long injury layoff. And they've brought in Castagna from Atalanta and James Justin from Luton, I believe, of all places. And they've just turned out to be resounding successes, really. And James Justin in particular, the first couple of times I watched him, I thought he was a bit fearful of playing in the Premier League. But as someone that has seen a lot of him this season, he's improved a staggering amount. And that will be due to Brendan Rodgers and the coaches. And also a little bit of confidence because he's playing well as well. But he's improved an awful lot. And I think, that just highlights how Leicester are a really solid club, solid buying strategy. I think you know what you're getting from Leicester these days. They're quite consistent, and that's an extremely good quality for a club to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, Charlie, before we move on to our 9th place team, what is a successful season for Leicester? Obviously, they're in the midst of a title race. We've seen this before where they kind of tail off towards the end of the season. Do you feel like that tail off's going to happen again, or are they really in this for the long haul?
I think they're in this for the long haul, definitely. I'll try and do this as succinctly as possible, but, they were right in the mix last season in the top 4, and then they really bottled it towards the end of the season and dropped out in the last 2-3 weeks. With an aging Jamie Vardy, he's not getting any younger. There's a bit of urgency for them to get something done this season, and I think the squad will know about that urgency. So I think top 4 is a good season. Anything less, they will live to regret. That's my opinion.
All right. So Leicester City are in at number 10, and moving on to number 9 is Borussia Monchengladbach, who have been flying since their big home win against Bayern Munich. After that, they have beaten Dortmund 4-2. They've beaten Werder Bremen 1-0, and they had a 2-2 draw against Stuttgart, who are a really, really good team. But look, Monchengladbach are finally starting to find the league form that I think most people thought they would start the season with. This is a really well put together side. Marco Rose is kind of regarded as one of the best managers in the world at the moment. He's kind of one of these guys that runs everything from the top. He's involved in all the recruitment. He's involved in the academy. He's basically, a CEO that stands on the sideline. But they find themselves now in 5th, only 4 points out of 2nd, which is unbelievable because it's only a few weeks ago they were sitting, 10th, 11th, and really fighting in the mid-table zone. But Lars Stindl has really led from the front. He's got 9 goals. But one thing, outside of Lars Stindl that really impresses me about this team is the wealth is really spread out around this team. You got 4 players on 3 goals, 1 on 4, and 6 on 1 goal. So when you watch this team, they really, really attack as a team. It's not, it's not moments of individual brilliance. They're really good at pressing and they're really good at counterattacking. And yeah, I'm just really high on Mönchengladbach at the moment, Charlie.
I think it's, some people might be a bit surprised to see them in here at number 9, considering they are currently, over the course of this season, they're the 5th best team in Germany because that's where they sit in the league. But I think a lot of it comes down to who they've beaten in the last few weeks. They beat Bayern 3-2 and they beat Dortmund 4-2, which was their last league game. So imagine that, scoring 7 goals in 2 games against Dortmund and Bayern. They are 2 big names to take. And they did it in style as well, pretty much. And I agree with what you said about their squad, because there's no one massive star that really sticks out to me there. There's a few players that people may know if they've got their nose in a few leagues around Europe, like Ginter is a German international, Stindl's had a good season this season, Zakaria is on a lot of people's radar, and Neuhaus is a good youngster as well. But none of them are really, they're not on a lot of bedroom walls, these players. So I think, Mönchengladbach, they're an example of a team where they're not carried by talent. They're just well coached, and they're a group of players that are, gelling well together and producing results.
One player I wanted to mention was Jonas Hoffman. he's having a really, really good season. And, I'm kind of thinking finally with this guy, because almost a decade ago, he broke into the Dortmund team and was kind of billed as one of the premier up-and-coming talents in Germany. And it just never really played out for him. He's just kind of been an average Bundesliga player, Going from Dortmund to Monchengladbach is a little bit of a downgrade as far as, the squad that you're playing with. They're obviously two huge clubs in Germany, but yeah, I think Hoffman's been really, really good this season. And like you said, it's just such a solid squad. And like Leicester, it's one of those squads where if one man goes down, it's just next man up. And systemically, they're just so good. So yeah, I think they're a perfect fit for number 9.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know too much about Hoffman, but I did see the highlights of the Dortmund game where they won 4-2. And his dead ball delivery was stupendous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I know nothing about Hoffman, but I looked at that dead ball and I thought, that is top class. So, yeah, go and watch the highlights of that if you haven't seen that already. That's worth a watch just on its own, that one little clip there. So we'll move on, I think, Adam, to number 8.
Mm-hmm.
So number 8, AC Milan. They've not had a great few weeks because, they were sitting towards the top of our list. Now they're way down in number 8. Their 2 most recent games were a 2-0 win away at Cagliari, and then their most recent game was a 3-0 loss at home to Atalanta. No, yeah, you really did hear that right. A 3-0 loss to Atalanta, who absolutely battered them. From what I saw, Milan didn't really create much in the game. But I have to say, on their day, Atalanta are absolutely sensational. And, they really got the better of Milan in that game. But having said that, Milan still sit top of Serie A. They're first, but now they're just 2 points clear. After earlier in the season, they did have a bit more of a buffer between first and second. Now it's a bit tighter at the top. But yeah, Milan, still top of the league, faltering slightly. 2 losses in their last 4 games after a really solid run of form. So yeah, Adam, what do we make of all this?
Yeah, I mean, I watched all 90 minutes of that game against Atalanta. It was rough. I mean, we've spoken so much about Atalanta on this team, and on their day, they can be virtually unbeatable. But with that being said, when Mario Mandzukic came on in the 70th minute, he registered the first shot on goal for Milan, and that is not good enough for a team that kind of has game winners all over the pitch. But look, that was a rough game. It was maybe Milan's worst game of the season and maybe Atalanta's best game of the season. But Zlatan's back. Mandzukic, I think, is going to be a key player. I think that's a brilliant January pickup. So I'm not really too worried about it. They've been getting really lucky that whenever they drop points, Inter also drop points. Because if Inter go on a big roll and AC Milan start to drop points here and there, then Inter could run away with it. But they're kind of getting lucky that Inter are dropping points at the same time. So, yeah, still sitting in first.
Yeah, the pressure is going to be on Milan because the chasing pack in Serie A is ferocious. There's so much competition in Serie A, so many able teams who could come and win the title. We're genuinely talking about 4, 5, 6 different teams that could just take over. So yeah, Milan are under massive pressure. But I agree with you. Mandzukic is a really good signing for me. Because, you can't rely on a 38 or 39-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic to play every game, even though his longevity is unbelievable and it's so admirable. But just, in the real world, not in Zlatan land, you can't realistically put your faith in a 38 or 39-year-old for the whole course of the season. So they've brought in another proven goal scorer at the very highest level in Mario Mandzukic, who I think he'll be a good deputy for Zlatan. And, bench players like that can go hugely underrated for top teams. And I think he'll make a big difference to Milan's season.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only with what he brings on the pitch, but, he's a title winner in multiple leagues. He's been to a, World Cup final. This is a guy that's been around the block. And this is a young Milan team. So I think just as another voice in the dressing room along with Zlatan, I think he's going to be a key player. Shall we move on to number 7, Charlie?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
You talk about the chasing pack in Serie A, and I think nothing is more telling of just how ferocious that chasing pack is. by there being two more Serie A teams above Milan in these rankings. And one of them is Inter in at number 7, who, although they sit behind Milan in the Serie A table, the Rank and Report bi-weekly European Power Rankings is a far more important table to be sitting ahead of Milan in, and they are in at number 7. Their recent results were a 0-0 draw against Udinese. They did not play great, couldn't really create anything, but they had that big 2-0 win at home against Juventus where they were brilliant on the day. And they also had a 2-1 win against Fiorentina. Look, they got to stop missing their chances to overtake Milan in the title race. They're still 4 points clear in second. Lukaku is banging in the goal still. He's got 12 goals in 18 Serie A games, and if anyone's going to lead them to a title, it's going to be him. I don't know. I can't say I'm worried about Inter, but they need to stop dropping points when Milan drop points because they're missing key opportunities to overtake them. But look, Charlie, they looked really good against Juve.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've not got too much new to say about Inter Milan. I'm a really big fan of Inter Milan this season, and just in general, Inter under Conte, I think they're a really exciting team with a lot of exciting players, and a couple of which I would like to take this opportunity to point out is Romelu Lukaku, who every time I see him, he's looking more explosive. His link-up play is getting better and better. And he's a ruthless goal getter, and we always knew he was that, but it's really good to see him in full flow at the moment. And then also you got Achraf Hakimi, who's putting up silly numbers for a right back, even though he plays as a very advanced right wing back. He's got 6 goals, 4 assists in all competitions this season. And I don't know, Adam, you can throw some names into the mix as well, but I would put Hakimi right up there as one of the best right backs in the world at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, he's essentially a winger. I mean, he's just attacking all game. But the midfield of Inter is really the hub of this. I mean, you've got Lukaku banging in the goals, and like you said, Hakimi just flying up and down the wing. But everything runs through this midfield. Marcelo Brozovic is so good. Stefano Sensi, there's some crazy stat that I heard recently that, Sensi's been injured a lot lately, but something like 15 games where he's been on the pitch, they've never lost, and they've conceded like 3 goals or something. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to stay fit, and he hasn't been on the pitch that much, but he is an absolute stud of a midfielder. So, yeah, I think they're so well built to win this title. The issue is they just need to be a little bit more consistent. But still, they, in our rankings, they find themselves above Milan, so doing all right.
Yeah, no, it is. It's an absolute workhorse for midfield. You got Arturo Vidal in there, who's a bit of a combative guy, a bit of a guy that can do everything, really. Brozovic is a great passer. Nicolo Barella has impressed a lot of people again this season. He's another guy who can get himself about the pitch. Quite a complete midfielder. So I agree with you there. Very workmanlike midfield, which is kind of essential for a team, really. So moving on to number 6. Is a team from the French league, which we, tend to stay away from, really, unless they've really impressed us. And all the way up in number 6, PSG have definitely impressed us in the last few weeks. They've had a great few weeks, really. Last 2 games, a 1-0 win away at Angers, and a 4-0 win at home to a struggling Montpellier side. But if you sprinkle in a 2-1 cup final win over Marseille, then, it's been a great few weeks for PSG under their new manager, Mauricio Pochettino. This is a huge talking point in itself, really. Pochettino coming in. He's set them up in kind of a 4-2-3-1, which is, I think he's going to bring a little bit more stability, a little bit more predictability than Thomas Tuchel did, who's a very adaptive coach, likes to try out a lot of different things. But essentially, the headlines are Mbappe's up to 16 goals. Moise Kean is on 11 goals. Who saw that coming? Not me. Neymar is on 10 goals, and PSG are back at the top of Ligue 1. So, that all happened very quickly, didn't it, Adam?
It's a little bit ridiculous that Moise Kean, who can't get on the pitch for Everton, is keeping Mauro Icardi out of the PSG team. Yeah, that's unbelievable. But I think there's one guy you got to talk about, and that's Kylian Mbappe, because the word on the block before Poch came in was that Mbappe was in the worst form of his PSG career. Poch comes in, he gets 2 goals in the win against Montpellier. If you get Mbappe to start banging in goals again, then the team is just going to be unbeatable. We've seen that the competition's not that stiff in Ligue 1. And you've got a lot of teams now. I don't know if you know this, Charlie, but they lost their TV deal, the French league, and basically it's just a yard sale of players now. I think that had a big say in Lyon selling Moussa Dembele. Aston Villa have just bought Morgan Sanson, who was a key player in the Marseille squad. So I think that's something, just a little tangent to keep an eye out for, is that there's going to be a lot of talent coming out of the French league, because they've got to start selling their assets because they've got no more TV money. But look, back on the PSG, Poch comes in. Sorry, Spurs fans, it only took him about 5 days to finally get a trophy, but he got one. And look, if Poch gets it right, this is obviously a supremely talented team, and I think it's a very high ceiling if he gets it right. I've got some doubts. I think Poch is one of those managers that requires a lot of work. The Spurs players often talked about how much running they did in training, and it's a very team-oriented, system-oriented kind of manager. I start to get a little bit worried when you've got the personalities of Neymar, Mauro Icardi in there. So we'll see if it works out, but so far so good.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Mbappe wasn't in the best goal-scoring form before the game against Montpellier, but he scored a couple of really good goals in that game. And it kind of makes me despair a little bit when I see Mbappe playing in the French league. No disrespect to the French league, but I think a lot of the teams kind of in the bottom half are not the best quality. They're kind of, I would say they're kind of the standard of some good championship clubs in England. The worst team in the French league is a lot worse than the worst team in the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think to see Kylian Mbappe running riot against these sides is like, fair enough. But I really want to see you doing that against top opposition every week, because that's just something I would love to see, because he's been ripping up the French league for a number of years now, Mbappe, and he's not got much left to prove. He's bigger than that league, so I'd like to see him move on.
Yeah.
But anyway, just unless you had anything to add there, Adam, I'll just run through the 10 to 6 rankings for our audio listeners.
I just think that the next big saga, the next big transfer saga, is going to be Mbappe to Real Madrid, and I think that's going to be the real test. I mean, I think he obviously has it in him. I mean, I'm sure, Charlie, as a fellow Manchester City supporter, you remember when he absolutely ripped it up at the Etihad. This guy can do it against the big team. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see him in another league eventually, and I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'll be happy to see him go to Madrid if that paves the way for Haaland to come to City. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So just quickly, 10 to 6 for our audio loyal fan base. We've got in 10th, Leicester City. In 9th, Borussia Monchengladbach. 8th place, AC Milan. 7th, Inter Milan. And 6th, PSG.
All right, coming in at number 5. As I mentioned earlier, although AC Milan are sitting top of Serie A, there are 2 teams in front of them in our rankings. One was Inter, and then in at number 5 is Juventus. You may be wondering, why is Juventus in the top 5 even though they are not even in the top 2 in Italy? But they are on a really good run of form. Apart from that Inter game, it has to be said. But they had a 2-0 win against Bologna. They had a 2-0 win against Napoli in a cup final. Andrea Pirlo gets his first silverware as a manager. And then they did have that 2-0 loss to Inter, which, look, that was probably their worst performance of the season and also one of Inter's best. If anybody watched our Serie A prediction episode maybe 2 months ago now, I had said Napoli was the front runner for me, and I believe you had said Inter, Charlie, and I was kind of poo-pooing Juve's role in this title race, but I'm starting to change my mind a little bit. I think they're starting to show signs of being that old juggernaut. The only thing that really worries me now is the back four. I think the two aging center backs, Chiellini and Bonucci, just don't look up to scratch anymore. I think they're lovely players, and in their pomp were two of the best center backs to ever grace the field in Italy, but they're just not up to it. One thing that's worth pointing out is I believe it's Christian Romero, who plays for Atalanta, is on loan from Juve, and God, he looked incredible against Milan at the San Siro. And what I would do to put Romero recalled from his loan and into that Juve team, I think he would easily take the field over Bonucci and Chiellini. But anyhow, my only other worry is, a bit of Ronaldo dependency. He's got 15 goals in 16 games, and Alvaro Morata is the next highest scorer with only 4. So I don't know. Is there a bit of a worry with Juve that they're Ronaldo dependent, Charlie?
I think Ronaldo is undeniably carrying the team in terms of goals. And I think it does become a worry for them, given that there's been a lot of talk of Ronaldo leaving Juventus at the end of the season. It almost seemed as if that was confirmed. I can't remember if it is definitely confirmed. Do you know about
that? This is truly the first I'm hearing of it, which is ridiculous because I've watched every single Juve game this season, full 90 minutes.
Do you know what? I might be talking absolute rubbish. What we're going to do is we're gonna film the rest of this episode, and then I'm going to check on Google, and then we can just edit this whole thing out and pretend that this didn't happen. But I definitely heard, it wasn't just a little birdie, definitely a big birdie with quite an authoritative voice said to me that Cristiano Ronaldo, they're talking about getting him off the books because his wages are so crazy at Juventus. But 19 goals in all competitions this season. A team is going to be dependent on those kind of goals. But I agree with you. I had the exact same thing written down about their ageing centre-backs. So that's could be a cause for concern after the end of this season. But they should be able to go back into the transfer market and get something done. But I think another thing to note about Juventus is their squad depth is quite incredible. And that is going to carry them a long way in, the marathon that is a full Serie A season. So on their bench, in their recent 2-0 win against Bologna, was Matthijs de Ligt, Aaron Ramsey, Alvaro Morata, Chiesa, and Adrian Rabiot. So they're all, world-class players. Well, not, I might need to calm down a bit. Not necessarily world-class, but, top-class international footballers. And they're all sitting on the Juve bench. So, that's going to carry them a long way, and they're definitely not out of the Serie A title race, in my opinion.
So I just did a quick Google. He's yet to extend his contract, which does end at the end of this season.
Right.
But I don't know, unless there's I'll trust your source, but I haven't heard anything about it being a real issue. But yeah, I mean he's essentially a free agent in a few months.
At least there's a little shred of truth in it, so that I can walk away from this, with a not a massive L. That's okay. I can live with that.
All right. Juventus are in at number 5. Moving on, Charlie, to number 4.
Yes, number 4. We've got Manchester United in at number 4 this week, who are currently top of the Premier League. We're halfway through the Premier League season, and United sit top. I can't quite believe it, but here we are. Bruno Fernandes top scoring with 16 in all competitions and 9 assists. Rashford's got 15. Their 2 most recent results were a 0-0 draw away at Liverpool, which was an absolute snooze fest, and then a 2-1 win away at Fulham. Sprinkle that in with a 3-2 win against Liverpool in the FA Cup this weekend just gone. And all things considered, it's been a very good few days for Man United. Like I said, top of the Premier League. Luke Shaw is in fantastic form. Rashford looked really good against Liverpool the other day as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to unpack really with United, but headlines are they're top of the Premier League. They can't stop winning. They can't stop grinding out results under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is something you wouldn't normally associate with them. So yeah, a lot to unpack really, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're starting to find a little bit of a formula with a front three of Cavani through the middle and Rashford on the left. I think that's working out really well, and then, they can kind of rotate Greenwood and Martial on the other side. But, Cavani and Rashford now have 11 goals between them. But yeah, I mean, Rashford played on the left in the cup game against Liverpool, and I don't know if you remember that ball he played in for the Greenwood goal. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I think he looks really good there. And Cavani is Cavani. I mean, he's an absolute world-class striker, and when you put him in a team that's he's being fed by Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, and he's always going to thrive. And Fernandes is a whole other guy on his own with 11 goals. So. Yeah, I think they've really found a formula, especially in attack. I don't know. Is there a little bit of room for worry here in the fact that they do have to grind out games and they consistently go down 1-0 and have to have a second half turnaround? I know it's Manchester United. It's always the late show, famous stoppage time goals at the Stretford end and stuff. But is that something you really want to be so high on, or is that something you want to be fixing?
I think it's something you can be high on. I don't think you can get carried away with it. I don't think even the most ambitious United fan thinks they're going to... Well, that's not true, actually. I'm sure some do think they're going to win the league, but I think the majority of United fans don't think they're going to be first come the end of the season. But I think being able to grind out results consistently is a very, very good trait for a team to have. I think in an ideal world, you want to be blowing teams away. But, when that's not an option, the next best thing is to grind out a win. And that's what they're doing. And I think there's a lot to get excited about for United this season. There's a lot of individual players to be really happy with this season. Pogba's picked up a lot recently since his agent came out and said that he's going to leave the club, which is kind of ironic. Fred, McTominay, good seasons. Cavani provides a different option to Martial up front, and he's basically guaranteed goals. So yeah, I think all things considered, a lot of reason to be excited for United. Like you say, I think you'd rather be blowing teams away, but I wouldn't get down on the fact that they're winning games narrowly. If anything, I think it shows a lot of character that they're winning games like that.
All right, United are in at number 4. And in at number 3, bit of a switch up. They've been so consistently at 1 or 2, basically for the entire existence of this show. But it is Bayern Munich in at number 3. They've slipped just a little bit, even though they've basically wrapped up the title in Germany. But they had a big 4-0 win against Schalke yesterday, or 2 days ago now. And then they eked out a 1-0 win against Augsburg. And they eked out another 2-1 win against Freiburg, in which Freiburg hit the post in stoppage time. And look, Freiburg was really in that game. And I think that's really the reason why Bayern are in at number 3, because they've been grinding out results of their own, just like United. They struggled to create major chances against Augsburg, but they've got a 7-point lead at the top. At this time of year, that's probably title 1. I distinctly remember, I'm going to have to toot my own horn here, Charlie, when we had a little Borussia Dortmund chat about, 3 months ago now, and I said, listen, we're going to get to January or February of 2021, and everybody will fall off. Bayern Munich will win 3 or 4 games in a row, and just like that, title's over.
You did. I'll give you that one, mate. You definitely did. And I think one of the main reasons that Bayern are so far clear at the top is they've kind of regained some momentum after slipping up a couple of times in the league whilst everyone around them faltered. Like Dortmund are in complete free fall at the moment. Leipzig aren't doing so hot themselves either. And they've had a fairly easy run of games. I think a 1-0 win away at Augsburg, who are in the bottom half. I believe they're 12th. And a 4-0 win away at Schalke, who I think I could beat. If I got 10 of my friends rounded up, I think we could give Schalke a decent game. So, they've got lucky in that sense. But I think another reason why they dropped down a couple of places is because they had a very embarrassing cup exit in the last couple of weeks to Holstein Kiel. They lost to them on penalties. I believe they're second, maybe even third division in Germany. I don't know if you heard about this, Adam.
Oh, yeah. No, I watched it. And as somebody who watches a lot of lower league German football, as I do, let's just say Bayern probably should have beaten Holstein Kiel.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the crazier results around Europe in the last couple of weeks. But with Real Madrid also kind of dropping out to third division opposition, it's like you can never tell what's going to happen these days. But, despite all this, what we've just said, there's still a couple of players there's still more than a couple of players having good seasons for Bayern, but obviously Lewandowski is still putting up crazy numbers. I've got 26 goals written here in all competitions. God knows what that number's going to be come the end of the season. Thomas Muller's got 10 goals, 10 assists. Joshua Kimmich has got an incredible 12 assists already this season. So, it's not all it's definitely not all doom and gloom for Bayern. They're still the third best team in Europe according to us, but a little slip up in the last few weeks.
On Thomas Muller, the guy just epitomizes Bayern Munich as a club. But one thing that I heard something really funny, I believe it was on the Total Soccer Show, which is a show based out of the States here. And the host, Taylor Rockwell, he and his former host, Daryl Grove, they used to have this phrase. Charlie, you know what an Irish goodbye is?
No, you'll have to enlighten me on that one.
So an Irish goodbye is basically when you just leave the party without saying bye to anybody. You just randomly leave and out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
And they had this phrase that was called the Muller hello, which is where you just show up out of nowhere in the right spot. And the Muller hello is how he scores all of his goals, because I watched that Schalke game and the guy just you won't even know he's on the pitch for 15 minutes, and then he just pops up and he's standing right in front of the keeper and he'll just nod a ball into the net. It's unreal, the guy. He's just all over the pitch.
Yeah, he's got a very specific role in the team. He's kind of he's either playing a role which used to exist and is now out of fashion, or he's invented his own role. There's a German word for it. I'm not going to try and pronounce it because I can't quite remember it, but I think it means, in translation, it means room finder. So he just kind of pops up wherever there's space. That's his role. So you've got to be a mega intelligent player to play like that. And Muller certainly is that. There's a very interesting video on it by Tifo Football, I believe. So if anyone's interested in the more technical aspect of Thomas Muller and the kind of the tactical side of the game, go and watch that video. It's very interesting.
All right.
Anyway, number 2.
Shall we move on to number 2?
Number 2, we've got Manchester City. Me and Adam, we're both City fans. This is the highest we've put them all season. And I don't feel bad about it. I think it's merited. They're currently second in the Premier League with a game in hand, which would send them top of the Premier League, which is a lovely sentence to come out of my mouth there. They can't stop winning. What have we got here? 10 wins in a row in all competitions, 17 games unbeaten. So, like I say, I don't feel bad at all for having them in second. Recent games, you got a 4-0 win at home to Palace and a 2-0 win at home to Villa, who are a very good side. We really had to grind out that victory there. City going really well now all of a sudden. Fantastic defence with John Stones and Ruben Diaz holding the fort. We've got the best defence in the Premier League. And it's even more of an achievement given that we've not had a striker to lead the line for us all season. We've had Gabriel Jesus, but I wouldn't call him a striker that's led the line all season because I'm just becoming more and more annoyed with him as the weeks go on. But so the goals are being shared around really. We've got Foden with 9 in all competitions, Sterling with 8, Ferran Torres with 8. All things considered, I think we've done fairly well to cope with injuries and come out of the other end smelling of roses, Adam.
Just a quick note on Ferran Torres. What a deal that was to get him at, 22 million euros, I think, and it goes up to 25 after bonuses. This is one of Spanish football's hottest commodities, and Valencia are a dumpster fire of a club, and the guy that runs the club, Peter Lim, he's just an absolute moron. Well, I don't even know if he's incompetent. I think he's just spiteful and doesn't really care about one of the biggest institutions in Spanish football, but that's a topic for a whole other show. On the defense, here's a quick stat I wanted to just throw at you, Charlie. I don't know if you've seen this comparison of Ruben Diaz to Van Dijk, but this is through Van Dijk's first 23 games at Liverpool and Diaz's first 23 games at Liverpool. Van Dijk obviously, he came in and basically he in one signing turned Liverpool into a dangerous team, into a pure title contender in both Europe and the Premier League. But just through their first 23 games at the club, Virgil van Dijk had 13 wins, 24 goals against, and 10 clean sheets. Diaz at City had 16 wins, 9 goals against, and 15 clean sheets. He's conceded 15 less goals. Well, the club has conceded 15 less goals than Liverpool did when Van Dijk came in and basically instantly cleaned things up. I mean, that is an unbelievable and not talked about enough signing.
Yeah, he's had a huge impact. And City having a really good, solid defence is not really a development that anyone saw coming. I didn't see that being our best asset going into this season. But, you know, it's a very welcome one. And just to compound that, I didn't see John Stones being a part of that defensive renaissance that City have got at the moment. So quite incredible stuff, really. Not something we expected, but we'll take it all day long. And City are flying because of it. One important thing to note with City is that Kevin De Bruyne is now injured for the next 4 to 6 weeks. He's going to miss some huge games. You know, it brings a tear to my eye thinking about what's going to happen. Because in my opinion, this could be big trouble. Adam, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm not that worried about it. I think obviously he is the guy to pick the lock of teams that are going to sit in. But, you know, teams sat in against City in the 18-19 run to the title, and De Bruyne basically missed, 50 to 60% of that season. I mean, I remember him having, I think, no role in the game at Brighton to win the title, and then he came on and, deep into the second half of the FA Cup final. So that was a run of 14 straight games to win the title without him and without Fernandinho. So I think City have shown that, with the exception of maybe Laporte's injury last season, that they can miss 2 or 3 big players and really still maintain their title push. So it's a huge loss, but I don't think the sky is falling down by any means.
I mean, yeah, we're a bit far apart on that one. I think, we could go on and on, but I think, we could cope with De Bruyne's absence more if we had a fit and firing Aguero, as we did a couple of seasons ago. But unfortunately, we don't have that at the moment. We're missing Aguero so badly. We've put a lot of reliance on De Bruyne, especially when we started putting him in a more advanced position. I think that was a big kind of light bulb moment for Guardiola. Realised that De Bruyne is the offensive weapon that we need to be employing more, because offensively we weren't looking too good. But yeah, I hope we can cope with it. There's more than a few players that can pick locks and kind of win games on their own. So that's enough on that.
All right, and finally, in at number 1, I believe for now 2 weeks in a row, is Atletico Madrid, who are just flying and really are unbeatable. But look, their recent results were a 3-1 win against Valencia, a 2-1 win against Eibar, and a 2-0 win against Sevilla, Sevilla's a really good side, and Valencia on their day can be a good side. But look, they continue rolling at the top. They've got a 7-point lead at the top, and they still have a game in hand. They could be 10 points atop against over Real Madrid if they win that game in hand. That is unbelievable. But they played really well against Valencia. They went down early to a wonder goal, but the combination of Joao Felix, Luis Suarez, and Marcus Llorente is just too powerful. And Suarez, who seemingly was deemed surplus to requirements at Barcelona, is now the joint top goal scorer in La Liga with 12 goals. So I don't know, maybe Barcelona in hindsight, it's a mistake to let him go, but either way, he's thriving at Madrid, and Madrid are way better off for it.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be their season in La Liga, and then in Europe, who knows? They've we've had them top of our list a couple of times now, and they've been right up there for the last few weeks, so they really could cause some damage in Europe. I think they've got Chelsea in the last 16, who I would expect them to absolutely roll over, unless Thomas Tuchel comes in and does something spectacular. But there's a lot to be excited about with Atletico Madrid. I heard a stat the other day, which was they've conceded 8 goals in 18 league games, which I believe is less than half of anyone else in Europe's top 5 leagues. So that is that's just a crazy stat. And then to kind of compound that with an associated stat, I think Jan Oblak, who's a great keeper, everyone knows that now. He's been at the top of his game for a little while. He's having the season of his life. I think his save percentage is around 90% at the moment. So they're 2 stats which are borderline unthinkable, really, Adam. And I think they tell kind of a story of their own.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're defensively, the Simeone ball is back. The big difference now is that they can win 1-0, and I think they'd probably prefer to win 1-0. At least Simeone would prefer to just win every game 1-0. But the big difference now is when they need to find goals, they find them. They go down early to Valencia, and they have to kind of, switch to another gear and start attacking more. And look, they've been able to do it. So I think it's arguably, maybe behind City and Bayern Munich, they're the most dangerous team in European football, but definitely the best team on form at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. They're top. They're deservedly top. And, for another week.
All right, real quick before we move on to one last small segment and then get out of here, just for our audio listeners, I'm going to read through all the top 10. Coming in at number 10 was Leicester City, 9, Borussia Monchengladbach, 8, AC Milan, 7, Inter Milan, 6, PSG, 5, Juventus, 4, Manchester United, 3, Bayern Munich, and number 2, Manchester City. And finally, in at number 1 was Atletico Madrid. Charlie, I believe we've got a brand new segment we're to just wrap things up here, and that is our game to watch for this weekend. So I'll let you go first. What is a game that, for whatever reason, you're looking forward to?
Yes, you believe correctly, Adam. We have got a wonderful new segment. The audience, go and watch these games that we got for you, because we're going to promise you that they're going to be entertaining. My selection is Barcelona against Athletic Bilbao. Obviously, just as a general rule of thumb, as any football fan, you should watch Barcelona whenever possible. They've got Lionel Messi, one of, if not the best player to ever grace the pitch. Any opportunity to watch him is kind of a blessing. So for that reason alone. And then with Bilbao, these two teams, Barcelona and Bilbao, they just played and went to extra time in the Spanish Super Cup, which Bilbao eventually won. It's going to be a very competitive game. Bilbao have got a new manager in Marcelino, formerly of Valencia, and basically they've been on a tear ever since. They've beaten Madrid, they've beaten Barcelona, and they absolutely hammered Getafe 5-1 yesterday. So you got a team on the up, you got a team kind of on the up and down in Barcelona. So who knows what you're going to get. I think there could be some excitement involved.
Yeah, I mean, if their recent cup final where they went to stoppage time or to extra time and they needed an Iñaki Williams wonder goal to win the game, if that's any indication of how this game is going to go, it's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, that's definitely a game to watch out for. My game to watch out for is in Italy this weekend, and that is Atalanta against Lazio, and that's Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our American viewers. So I believe that is 2 p.m. in the UK. But yeah, look, Atalanta are in 5th, Lazio are in 7th. Lazio have won 4 straight games. That was kind of kicked on by a huge win in the derby against Roma, where they absolutely dominated Roma, who are in 3rd right now. But look, Lazio can overtake Atalanta in that hunt for the top 4 if they win this game. Atalanta are coming off the back of that huge win against Milan. So I think the recipe is there for a really good game. And Lazio have got a great attack in Luis Alberto and Ciro Immobile, but they can also defend really well. And that's coming up against Atalanta, who on their day are probably the best attacking side in Europe. So I think it's going to be riveting.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Any game with Atalanta involved is a lottery. You could be really treated to some attacking majesty. So, yeah, one to look out for, definitely.
All right, I think we're going to wrap up there. Before we get out of here, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who's your favorite club? What's your top 10 rankings? Anything you want to tell us? Charlie, any last words for the people?
Just come back, like the video, comment, come back and watch our next stuff, because we're going to bring you, a video previewing Champions League ties, which we've been promising for about 6 months now, but it is definitely coming. I promise you it's coming. So, subscribe to us and let us know what you think.
All right. See ya.